This story is sort of an addendum to the energy and information systems story. And it happened a little bit before 2010. It was in 2009. And I was at the point where I was ready to work on translating my ideas into things that other people could understand. But because these particular ideas about energy and information systems that I learned from marbles and ramps and experiments and stuff are stored in four-dimensional color-coded spatial models that are dynamic, that exist in a part of my mind that doesn't have access to language. And I have in earlier videos described how I translated it into things that to me made a lot of sense in terms of explaining them to other people, but yet still was not quite bridging the gap between these models of energy transfer and money and business and potential money and kinetic money processes and knowledge visualization into things other people could understand. So I decided I would learn how to translate them. And it's hard to translate ideas that exist in a way that's completely unique to a person. And I've done a lot of experimentation and testing with people to try to understand how they think or what they understand or how long their attention span is or how much they can hold in their minds in a conversation, and then circle back with them like years later and kind of check in and see what they remember and things like that, just to try to calibrate, because it's hard to share a perspective that's unique if nobody else has a framework for understanding the perspective. It's like the picture of a cloud floating in the sky. There's no language to describe clouds to another person. So I decided I would learn a way to do it. And it was May 27th, 2009. And I decided to go to a bookstore. Back then, there were bookstores. I don't know. I haven't been in a bookstore in a long time, but there were a lot of bookstores back then, and you could go in. And back then, in a bookstore, there was a person who had a computer sitting in front of a computer, and you could ask them questions about books you were looking for, and they would help you find the book. So I went in there and I asked the person at the bookstore if they could help me find a book that was about explaining complicated ideas and visualizing information. And she helped me, and she said, I have the perfect book. And it's called The Back of the Napkin by someone named Dan Roan. I thought, The Back of the Napkin, that sounds promising. What a great title, and it was basically, I don't remember the subtitle. So like explaining complex ideas with simple pictures, something like that, something better, but like that. And so we went over to the section, and I was surprised that it was in the business section, but I was happy that it was in the business section because my ideas at the time were around business visualization. And at that point, I had already translated the visual spatial models into more iconic representations of the same thing in terms of like gears and a process map and a performance grid. But still, no one understood what I was talking about. So I opened this book, and in this book, simple book, like stick figures, easy to understand, it described the idea that there are 6 perspectives of cognition. And I'd never heard anybody say this before, but I have 6. My visualization, when I broke it down from the spatial model into the iconic model, there are 6 perspectives. And they are, who or what am I looking at? How many are there? Where are they? When are they? How did they get here and why? And of those 6 perspectives, the one that is, I guess, the most complex is why, because it basically it synthesizes the reasons why a particular element is important or not, or why a particular element has an answer to something. the why things. And there's an infinite number of why reasons to a why question. So that's sort of like a philosophically and intellectually challenging concept, this why construct. And so I looked at the book and it had these 6 perspectives, and I was like, I have 6 perspectives. And this book has 6 perspectives. I was like, there's something here. And I looked at the first one, and it was who and what, which describes an object. And that's my first one too, which is what am I looking at? Or who am I looking at? And I was standing in this book. There's a few times in my life where I've gotten like chills from like, an experience of an epiphany, I guess. And I skipped the whole book. I skipped the other, 4 perspectives, just flipped it till I got to the why perspective. And the why perspective matched my understanding of the why perspective with the multivariable plot that intersects 2 things. And a nuance of that is the way I do it is I rank the whys into the top 2 most important ones, plot them against each other. And that shows you the relative value of the reasons to each other. And this concept, although not the way I just explained it, was in the book, the why. And I was like, this guy, Dan Rome, he must be a super genius, explain it like this, stick figures, brilliant, simple diagrams, same idea. Same, basically it was the way to explain the way that I was explaining my model, essentially. And so, and I've done this a lot in my life, is I reached out to him on email on May 27th, 2009 at 9:33 and 2 seconds in the morning. And here's the email. It said, hello, I'm interested. Let me say that again. Hello, I'm able to visualize how business systems work. These visualizations are in 4 dimensions, 3D plus time. I like to learn how to animate my ideas so I can explain them to other people. Is there a back of the napkin approach for dynamic information? Thanks, Mark. Now, I've sent emails like this to lots of people in my life, probably 50, for different reasons related to this project or other things. Most of the time, people ignore me and don't even reply because it's a little bit mad scientist, and I'm sure people get lots of things like this. Or maybe they just don't feel like replying. Either way, but he replied like right away, within a few minutes, and explained to me how if you took a picture of a system using the 6 pictures, and then took another picture a second later, and another picture a second later, that you could string them together and create an animation. And that's what I do. And in fact, when I translated this model, I froze. I did it the other way, is I see the dynamic model first, or I see the way that it is first, like a ball moving through the air. I see the video of the ball moving through the air because that's what I'm seeing with my eyes. And then I can freeze it and then remap it into something. And then I can take snapshots of them, of the ball, and then string them back together. And so basically this was explaining something that I do. And it wasn't a test, but I just wanted to see, like, would he reply? And he did. And that led to me in 2010 meeting Dan Rome at the Affinia Hotel in New York City at a workshop he gave about these ideas, the Back the Napkin workshop. And that led to a friendship that has still lasted till now. And Dan Rome and I have worked together since 2010 on this project in different ways, different components. We did some work on the business visualization framework, on the user interface for software called Visualizer, the book Honey is Money, lots of videos, my websites. It's been an amazing friendship, and I'm really grateful for Dan Rome. And I wanted to add this here at this story, because I'm so appreciative to have a person in my life that took the 14 years to understand me and to help me translate these ideas that felt so important to get out of my head. So thanks, Dan.